kind of rolls over. Hello, everybody. It says we're live. Sometimes it takes a minute for it to kick on to the other platforms, but at any rate, we are live on StreamYard. And I swear I was not doing this as a pun on words, but I am super stoked to be talking to Kristie Stocker today. And wait, Stoker? Stocker?
I
just confused myself. I had it. And then because I said stoked, I was like, okay, so excellent. It did work. I was sharing with Kristie as we were chatting right beforehand, a little thing that I do is I keep a notepad next to me because I like to every once in a while, if somebody's sharing really great tidbits and I don't want to interrupt them, I'm afraid that I'll forget and I don't want to be trying to concentrate. I'll like scribble things down. I didn't want her to think that I was like, doing something else. And she said like a grocery list. And I thought, my audience may have been wondering all this time, like, what is she writing down over there? And I was thinking, let them wonder, like, what does Deb need from the grocery store? The reality is I don't know what I need from the grocery store. So there wouldn't be a list that I would be making at this particular moment.
Tune in next episode where Deb goes through her entire grocery list.
Exactly. So anyway, thank you, whomever is joining us, whether you're joining us live or you're joining us after on one of the platforms we're on. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and those will stay up. Sometimes there's a hiccup before they go completely posted up there, but for the most part, I have not had any issues with them maintaining those so that if you want to watch or rewatch something after we're live, you absolutely can. Kristie and I connected through a mastermind that we both love and adore and are in called Super Connector Mastermind. And as a result of that, have had some amazing opportunities to chat in person and then chat virtually one-on-one. And during the course of some of those conversations, we've often thought that it would be great if somebody could hear the back and forth and the information that we've shared with each other. And there's so many levels of things that we haven't yet even spoken about. So we're going to be talking about leadership and breakthrough and stuff. But to get us going, I always like to let the person that I'm speaking with explain themselves and what they do, because I think like I could definitely read off a bio and you would get the gist of it, but I think you get something from listening to somebody talk about what they do and hearing the way that they say things and the passion in their voice. So I'm going to have Kristie introduce herself, tell you about what she does, and then we're going to dive into a conversation. We do have the comments up, but every once in a while, sometimes they don't feed through from one of the platforms. So if you do post a comment and we don't respond, just know that we probably didn't see it, and we will check afterwards on the platforms and try to get to those comments or questions as they appear. So with that, Kristie, please tell everybody, who you serve and what you're all about.
All right. Oh gosh, how long do we have? You said, what am I all about? Wow.
All right. So
how long is this live?
Professional. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have. You're right. Like, who has time to say that? So we'll talk about your mission and focus as the awesome coach, consultant, and speaker that you are.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Deb. I'm excited to be here. We have had a lot of really awesome conversations. So hopefully some of that will come out here today for your listeners, for your viewers. So I'm Kristie Stocker. I'm a leadership consultant. I'm a speaker, and then I'm also a success coach. And what all that means is that I work with driven professionals, probably like all of you, to transform you into excuse-breaking, fear-crushing, goal-exceeding leaders. So I love working with the people either at the corporate level or entrepreneurs. And it just seems to be that I'm attracting more entrepreneurs into my business that are really wanting my success coaching. And so that's really been a fun journey working with more entrepreneurs. I originally specialized in the accounting and tech industry. And so that was where I started moving my leadership skills and my leadership consulting, is to help those accounting and tech professionals in firms kind of get leadership ready, right? So that's kind of what I do, is I take the people who are either individual contributors, middle managers, and just kind of make them amazing leaders. And Deb, I want to preface this. Somebody asked me a couple of days ago, like, what makes you different? And so I'm going to answer this right now, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because there are so many leadership coaches and leadership consultants. Many of them are my friends. However, how I feel I'm different is I love to work around the concept of purpose, because that's something that you don't hear a lot of in leadership. And maybe we'll talk about this later in our conversation. But of all the research that I've done, the books I've read, the people I've interviewed, the executives I've talked to, it always boils down back to purpose. And so that is the core and philosophy around my entire business. So when you talked about mission, my mission is to help others align and connect with the purpose they know is burning inside them, so they can become the leaders that they know they can be. And when I say leader, you don't have to have direct reports to be a leader. You can self-lead. You can lead your home. You can lead your place of worship, whatever it is. But I want to connect more people with the thing that's really burning inside them that they really know is in there, but it's not coming out for whatever reason. And that is my whole philosophy and my mission behind my leadership consulting and my success coaching, is really connecting with that purpose. And then you'll be on fire, but not in a literal term.
Yeah, you're putting them on fire, but putting out fires.
Right, exactly. Disclaimer right there. So my lawyer will be like, you can't tell people that. No, sorry.
So there's a lot. Always, this is the case, right? This is why I generally take notes, but I have a couple things right off the bat that I would love to dig into. So there was something you said about, leadership not being a title. And I love that. And that's something that I talk a lot about as well, because you can be a leader at any place that you're at in your life, whether it's a work environment or personal environment. And you noted all those different things. Leading is helping to affect positive change. It's showing people a different way. It's using creativity and guidance. So I think that that's phenomenal. And that also helps when you're working with people who also are leaders by title, because it helps them to know that, I think sometimes the title is almost the thing that becomes overwhelming. Like, this is my title, but we are all have inside of us the ability to be leaders. And so we can't let those titles sometimes become so overwhelming that that's what we're thinking about. It's about bringing out the best in others by bringing out the best in yourself, and purpose. So I won't go through the whole long story, but I used to have a photography, video, and design business many years ago. So it was D. Harrison, PVD, photo, video, and design. And we're going to fast forward to when I started really digging into wanting to become more visible with my consulting. And there was other websites that I thought about using, but I had this D. Harrison PVD, and I decided to stick with it because I went with purpose, vision, drive. And the key turning point for me, so that's interesting, was purpose. That word purpose, I think, is extremely powerful, because we all have purpose, and not that we need to be so concerned with naming a specific purpose, because I think purpose can be very broad. We can have multiple ways that we impact the world, but we all of us have. My post today, I swear Kristie and I didn't plan this, was about that we all have a place in this world. Everybody has a place, right? Place, AKA purpose. Something that they're going to contribute. So when you're working with, and I love that you noted that you started in accounting, but now it's bigger. So, I mean, you can take this, whatever, if you want to go focusing on accounting or you want to keep it broad, when you're talking about helping people with purpose, because we know that that's important when you're life coaching, career coaching, leadership coaching. What are some things that you do to help people get in touch with finding what they feel resonates in terms of them saying, if somebody had to complete the sentence, my purpose is, how do you help people complete that sentence?
Wow. This is a question that I actually get a lot, because people are like, how do you do it? Like, what's your thought process? What's your framework? And what's interesting is it took me years to figure that out. It took me years to figure out a framework. I asked a ton of people, and what happened was I found a lot of people that were having regrets, and it was always in a certain demographic, a certain age demographic, and I would say like a certain level in corporate demographic. And so what I did was I started asking them, like, well, why aren't you pursuing your purpose? Why do you feel that you're stuck? And people just didn't feel they had enough balance, clarity, direction, or focus. And so when I started looking at that, and I said, okay, if you had more of that, you would be able to define your purpose. And a lot of the times people just need to be asked the right questions. So when people say, how do you define one's purpose? It's not just, oh, let's just ask one question and we're done. Okay, good. Go with that, and I'll help you align with it and execute it. But it's more of a deep dive. So anytime any one of my clients come to me and say, Kristie, I feel that I'm created for more. I feel like there's more out there for me. I'm here, but I want to be here. I just don't know what that is. There's a lot. Be prepared to go deep into yourself and to be very honest, because I've known IT professionals that want to be health coaches. I've known IT project managers that want to be photographers. And I've known lots of different people who want to be entrepreneurs. And so when you really start looking at your purpose, it's not just what you do, like I just named career. I'm talking about, what do you want to be? Like, how do you want to be? It's not just, oh, I want to be a veterinarian, or I want to be a doctor or an entrepreneur. That's the surface level. What you have to do is dig deep and say, okay, what kind of person do you want to be while you're becoming the vet person or the doctor or whatever it is? So I feel that it's personal and professional, and it can be a really cool dichotomy, a really cool alignment. But sometimes also people feel that purpose is finite. It's
Mhm.
not finite. So if you had asked me about 15 years ago what my purpose was, it would be a completely different answer today, Deb, than it
Right.
was 15 years ago, because of the people I've met, relationships, experiences, my knowledge, right? I've grown, right? That's one of my core values, is growth. I've grown since then. So I feel purpose can be a nice flowing thing, but I also feel that there's always a core within a person that's calling to them. And that is my job to kind of unleash it. And going
Right.
back to your thing about accounting and tech professionals, what I found was the reason I went with accounting and tech professionals is my particular framework to find your purpose and to be more successful in your career really resonated with the accounting and tech professionals, because these people went to school for tech things, like the technical side, the tactical side, but they weren't always taught the people side, the intrinsic, the emotion side, the deep side. And so that's where I kind of found my sweet spot, is helping a lot of those accounting tech people say, look, it's more than just numbers or data. It's you. Like, you
Right.
got to look at you crunching the numbers or doing the data. And so once you connect with that, then you've got people on fire for a dream left and right. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the idea too, like what you were talking about, is the difference between purpose and what you're doing. Because I think whether I'm in a company or whether I'm working one-on-one with somebody, a lot of times it's interesting that somebody will think that the dissatisfaction that they're feeling means that they have to change what they're doing. But as you were talking about, like, your purpose is your message, right? What do you want to leave behind? And so sometimes it's a matter of just finding how you can deliver that message with where you're at. Sometimes it does mean you need to change it. Sometimes you say there's still a dissociation for me between being able to effectively communicate it. Like, I may not be able to effectively communicate it in an IT field. If somebody you mentioned, I might be able to better effectively communicate it doing photography. But sometimes it's just allowing people to recognize that there is a broad way that they can speak what they feel passionate about into the world. And it doesn't have to be in the traditional way that they might have thought it was, right? Like, I talk a lot about everybody's creative. So it's that creative, like, how can I, if my message is, for example, that I think everybody's got a gift, right? That's something that I think is important. You can do that as a photographer by taking pictures that are going to show people the myriad of gifts that other people have and help you shine your light. You can also do that as an executive in a company by helping to say things and empower people and enable people to be all involved and all inclusive and invite people to the table. So that same message can be delivered. So it's aligning what is my message that I want to share? And then how is the best way that I'm going to be most effective to do that? And then,
Yes.
like you said, that's where you start to open doors up. And I think it also is the and, right? Like, that's my word for the year,
Okay.
is and, right? And I think that that's so, like, you might have a purpose, a message, a specific thing that's important to you, but you can do this and this. You don't have to say, what
Yes.
is the one way? Like you said, finite. You don't have to pick the one way that I'm going to do this. And this is my identifying fact of who I am. But who you are, what matters to you, can be displayed in so many different ways.
Yes.
So I think that that's powerful to allow people to see, because it also, if a goal that they have is something more long term. So if somebody's pivoting, say, becoming a doctor, you're not going to flip a switch. You've got a lot of training that's going to go into that, but you can start doing that message on the journey. You don't have to wait for that spot. So
Yes.
you can live your you where you are.
Yes.
So I think, now, you said that you changed a lot between what you had, where you would have said you were going, or what your purpose would have been, to now. Was there something pivotal that happened, or was it more, gradual, or was it like you had a moment where you were like, wait a minute, this is not where I want to be. This is what I want to be.
Wow. Okay. So you must have been in my head, because I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
It's yeah, last night. So me and my fiance were unpacking all my books. So I'm in the middle of a move, right? And he unpacked books after books after books. And he's like, you have a lot of books. And so as I was putting the books on the shelf, I pulled out a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And I
Mm.
don't know, I think it's by Richard Carlson. Please don't quote me, please look it up, but it's a book and it's got about 100 different like little sketches and little stories and whatnot. And I pulled out that book and I looked at it and I hadn't seen it in a while because it had been packed away. And I looked at it and I said, oh my gosh, I remember this book. This book right here changed my life. It literally pivoted me on a dime. And there were other books that I was looking at, John Maxwell, Psychocybernetics, all these books had quote unquote done something cool for my life. But this book specifically addresses what you had just said. What was that moment? It was that moment. So I'll take you back to I think it was 2007. And I was visiting my parents. They used to live in Florida. And so I was visiting them for the holidays and I was in the guest bedroom and just having some quiet time. And I was reading that book. And I remember sitting on the bed with my back against the wall and just reading the book. And there was a passage in there and it talked about dying. And I was, I think, late 20s or whatever I was at the time. And I looked at it and I read the passage. It was only 2 pages long. And Deb, I literally, like when you have light bulb moment, revelation, whatever, I literally sat there and said, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing? I'm running around. I'm getting 4 hours of sleep a night. I'm on every single board. I'm doing a side hustle with a corporate job and I'm doing this and this and this. And I'm in my late 20s. So I've got plenty of time to do other things, but we don't know when we're going to die. And so that is what that passage talked about, because sometimes I don't care what age you are, something could happen tomorrow. And I literally had that revelation. Oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Is this really how I want my life to go forever? And it was at that moment, Deb, that day in holidays of 2007 or whatever it was, where I was like, I need to change something. I need to change something right now because I don't know how many days I have left. You can always say, oh, well, you're young or you're this or you're whatever. You have no clue what will change tomorrow. You just don't. And so from then on, I was like, everything changes. I ended up getting rid of friendships and relationships that were not very positive. I started looking to get out of corporate. That's when I started getting ideas for building my consulting business and speaking business, and just everything changed. And that is right at the moment where I created a framework to create my purpose. So it was right in that moment where I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And so it's funny that you asked that because I literally just remembered that yesterday. So
powerful. Well, yeah. And there's nothing like the reality of the potential for limited time. And to you, what you just said, right? The potential for limited time. So you're in your 20s. So for all intents and purposes, okay, I've got years and years that I can do things, but we really don't ever know. And I love the way you said it, because you didn't say it with a sense of foreboding. You're not walking around every day in a sprint going like, oh my gosh, life is short, right? Because that's almost the antithesis of what that moment meant to you.
Right.
Which was pause. Let me be present where I am. Let me be present in every moment. And that ties in with what we were just talking about too, with the journey, is that even when you're at that pivot, you don't want to make the decision to change and then be thinking like change is when I'm done. Change is when I hit that other goal that I had, right? If I decide I want to be healthier, then change is when I've lost the pounds. It's not, it's from the moment you've decided that. So now you're living that reality. You are that person that you want to be, because it is simply in the moment of saying like, this is what's important to me. There's a 2-word phrase I used to use a lot as a teacher, and I've used a lot as consulting: live true. 2 words: live true, right? Live true to yourself, live true to the people around you. It doesn't really need a whole lot of explanation, because I think when you think about it and when you start to dissect it in your head, you get what you need from that phrase. Yeah. But in that moment, you realized you needed to live true, right? Like this is the reality that's going to be my life, and I need it to be something that I'm going to feel good about whenever the end may come, but also in every single moment that you're in it, right? Whether you're going through difficult times or hard times, and they're going to come, even when you choose your passion and follow it, those hard times aren't going to stop. But when you believe in what you're doing. And were there people around you that spoke into you in the way that you're speaking into others? Because I imagine hearing you tell that story and how it was that book, right? That book for you. Um, you're that, and I think it's like it's don't sweat the small stuff and it's all small stuff, right? Or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I think for you, you're taking that moment, that message, and that's becoming a big part of your purpose is to bring to other people the reality that anything could happen at any moment.
Mhm.
What is the you that you want to bring to this world, that you want to be the legacy of what you spoke and what you did. So maybe first, was there anybody that did that for you that's helped you to say, this is why I need to do this for other people? Or was that, like, I'm kind of curious how that all came together.
Yeah, like if I had a specific mentor or something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my, I have a long list. I have a very long list of mentors. I was in a leadership organization at the time when I had read that book. And so there is a guy out there. He's never met me, but his name is Chuck Getchell. And I was at a large, large leadership conference when he was one of the speakers. And he did a speech. I forgot what it was called. I think it was like Your Ultimate Destination or something with destination in it. And it was in that speech where he talked about having purpose. And from there, I had so many mentors in that leadership conference, that leadership organization that I was in, because in my opinion, when you get very, very clear on what you would like on out of life, right? Just your core values, like you said, living true. When you are connected to your true self, people will start coming out of the woodwork. I would almost promise you, because when you exude that, other people are attracted to that.
Right.
And so if you do want to become an astronaut or a doctor or whatever it is, and if that's truly what you want and that is what speaks to your heart, mentors will come out. So I had mentors in the leadership organization. My family has always been supportive. I've been very blessed to have very little naysayers and haters
Mm.
in my life. Um, and the ones that do, they don't matter. As they say, people who care won't judge you, and people who judge you don't care. And so I concentrated only on the people who cared for me. And so I had mentors in the leadership organization. I've hired mentors. I've had mentors, Carolyn and Chris and Jen
Right.
and David. I mean, all of them have been mentors for me. But I feel that when you are connected, no matter if you're in corporate or you're an entrepreneur or whatever it is, when you're highly connected, those mentors will start coming for you, and you can start learning through them because people are attracted to that. I mean, I won't go into law of attraction, go
Right.
down
Right.
that tunnel, right? But it is true. I mean,
Yeah.
so once you exude that, people will come forward and attract to that. And I will say, when you talked about hard times, if I can just pivot for a second,
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
you talked about hard times, that is a big question that a lot of people ask me. They're like, Kristie, well, I guess two questions. How do you become so positive all the time? And two, how in the world do you have so much energy and you don't drink coffee? Okay. So, newsflash to everybody here, I don't drink coffee. I don't even like coffee. I think I had it once when I was a kid. I was like, that's a no. And I don't drink caffeine. But to add to that, when you have purpose, when you are on fire for a dream, when you know where you're going, when you have a passion, when you're like Deb and you're like, move out of the way, I'm like moving and shaking. you know, you have the energy, and that energy helps you get through that adversity, helps you get through the tough times, helps you see the light at the end of the tunnel. And, not a therapist here, but it will also help improve your mental health
Right.
when you feel that alignment and that connection. So those mentors will come forward, your energy will come, your passion, and it will all start aligning. But again, I guess maybe to your point, being true to yourself first.
Right.
Those are the types of things that I like to teach my clients is we got to dig deep. I can't just teach you conflict resolution and, listening skills or whatever until we dig deep into the foundation of who you are. And then we can bring out the really cool leadership skills.
Yeah, I mean, yay, right? I'm cheering
Yay!
in my heart. I mean, yay. I so many areas I want to touch on, and the concept that the people that you're going to need come into your life, and I think to some degree, like you said, right, you're going to start to attract that. you also, I think from the moment you acknowledge that you haven't been listening to yourself, you start listening to yourself, you start listening to other people, right? So there's some stuff that like has been around you all along, right? I think we tend to think like somehow the big answers are going to be far away and they're going to be require a lot of climbing. And some of them do, but sometimes the right answers are right there. It's
Right
just
there.
we weren't listening because we had, these blockers that were on. And the mental health piece. So I'm a big advocate for mental health awareness. And I'm also a big advocate on the disability front, because I think that sometimes we get caught up in the chasing dreams. I'm just trying to think about how to summarize it. We get focused on the going after dreams, which is very positive, but we think of them in a very specific way. So I'm just going to use astronaut as an example because I think that that's a good one. So if somebody's got a disability that really does prohibit them from being able to be an astronaut, right? There's some things you have to be able to do to be an astronaut that you just may genetically, biologically, whatever, not have in you. But then how do we not say all or nothing? So it's not, I can't be an astronaut because I have this. But what are the other things that I can do, right? And I think that's why it becomes important for us as coaches to have boundaries. I don't mean to give somebody a hard no, but to look at what are your skills, your gifts, your potential, right? If I said I'm going to become an Olympic skier next week, it's not going to happen.
Not realistic.
No matter who I go to or what coach I seek, right? That's not going to happen. But so then what are some other things I might do? Maybe that might mean like I'd like to become a commentator for the Olympic skiers, or I might like to, maybe I'm going to become a coach, or I'm going to go into a field where I can be a trainer. But so we find those things in people that we also encourage in people and in ourselves, that you can have those dreams, but that you do want to put them into a context that is going to make sense with you. And I think you stop walking around feeling so frustrated by your limitations when you recognize that those limitations don't have to be limitations. They're just arrows pointing you in a specific direction and way that you can fulfill that. So, astronaut or something else, what are the ways that you can get into that field or into that passion that you have if you can't get onto the space shuttle and, go up to the moon? So I think that's of particular importance to me because I have it, and my son has given me permission. This is something I've asked him. I said, if it ever comes up on a conversation, he's a disability, and there's a lot of things he'd like to do that he can't do. So we spend a lot of time having that conversations about what are the ways you can live into that. And when you realize the beautiful gifts that you have, because everybody has them, and how you can apply them, you live a more peaceful existence. You're not feeling
Absolutely.
like you live a more peaceful existence, I think. So
Abso-freaking-lutely. And I won't go down the rabbit hole, but I have so many friends, and I look at them and they focus on their limitations or the negative things in life. Okay, and raising my hand, I've done it too, okay? Right? Like we've all done it. I'm not saying I don't. However, the thing, going back to talking about being positive, is if I only focused on the negative, I'm just going to get more negative. If I keep focusing on my limitations of, well, I wanted to be a ballet dancer when I was 10 and I'm still not a ballet dancer. Well, life's over, that's it, or whatever. However, I've noticed that so many people focus on their limitations. And sometimes they don't realize they're doing it. And they might say, well, I'm a female, I can't do that. I'm a male, I can't do that. I'm over 60, I'm under 60, I'm 15, I'm 51, and whatever. I'm a certain ethnicity, I'm from this different country, I've got this disability or whatever, or different abilities than other people. And I can't agree with you more, where if we focused on what we do have rather than what we don't, right? Again, I'm kind of touching on the law of attraction a little bit, but if we focused on what we had and what our gifts are, we would be able to just take things to the next level instead of screaming, well, I didn't get the job because of this, or I didn't get, a business or this client because of that, or, I didn't win the lottery because whatever,
Right.
But it's just when people will focus on what they do have in front of them. Like you said, if they opened up their eyes and said, wow, I didn't realize this person has been right here the whole time that could help me, support me, mentor me, or this opportunity or this money or this resource or whatever. If you really just started looking at what's in front of you and maybe just like a couple feet ahead of you, maybe a little
Right.
bit into the future, you could really take your success to the next level. And that is a lot of what I teach my clients is, I have one client right now, her business isn't doing well at all, and she's very upset about it. And I said, you know what? We got to look at what we have in front of us right now, and where do you want to be? Not, okay, we've acknowledged where you are right now. We get it. But if we focus on it, you're going to keep getting more of that. And so I think that's a really important point that you made, Deb, is focusing on more of our gifts and
Right.
of the resources and the blessings that we have in front of us, rather than not being a ballet dancer to this day.
Right. And on that note, and I think this is cool because this is a good way to kind of, because we're teeing up here. We're at a half hour, though I'm sure we could talk for another 45 minutes.
Oh, shoot, we could talk for like a week.
Oh, for sure. Well, on this one topic, not to mention all
Right,
the
yeah,
other
that's
ones.
true, that's true.
But I think, we talked about mental health and we talked about, and I think that's why consultant, coach, therapist, all these different, but why it's so important for people to seek out somebody that they're going to be able to get honest and real feedback about their gifts that are going to speak to them that way. I think it's awesome if you've got a great friend or you've got a really great relationship with somebody in your family, but I am a big advocate for having somebody that's outside
Oh, yes.
of those areas, because you tend to take what they say a little differently because you know that they love you. People that love you are going to say things a little differently because they love you. It's important to get that the feedback that, again, sometimes it's going to be tough love, but it's going to be saying to you, hey, look at all these gifts you have that maybe you're just kind of submerged in the quagmire and it's tough to get out of. And we know, Kristie, from us having talked, right, that like we look back on our lives and we realize times where our thinking was maybe a little bit clouded and we were not focusing on our gifts. And being a parent of 3 teenagers, I mean, teenagehood is all about just trying to figure out what the heck is going to happen with your life, right? I mean, it's really difficult, but there's so many beautiful things about it. And so Kristie is a great example here of somebody that you could speak with. So I do want to make sure, Kristie, that, and I'll let you say some parting words also, but I also want to make sure that everybody knows how they can get in touch with you, have a conversation with you, hear about the services that you offer, just give you feedback on something that they heard. What would be the best way for people to find you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way is to go right on my website, kristiestalker.com. Just as you see it down here, that's the spelling. kristiestalker.com is my website. And if you've heard something that I've talked about, if you are an individual contributor, you want to be leadership ready, or you've got that burning desire and you're like, I just don't know how to get where I want to be. If you're a corporate person, you want to get out into a different industry, or if you're an entrepreneur or budding entrepreneur and you're just like, I have these dreams, I want to get from here to here. And I'll also preface, you might not want to be here. You want to be here, but you don't know what that is. You
Right.
haven't defined that purpose yet. You're just like, there's something burning inside me, but I need some help for somebody to help align me with it. And then we can take you from here to here. Right.
Right.
And so if you want to get a hold of me, go to kristiestalker.com. There's a contact me button. You can literally book a free session with me. We can chat, we can talk about what we talked about here today. You can ask me all sorts of questions. We can get to know each other, and I can see if there's something that I can do to help you, because there's zero reason to keep struggling. There is zero reason. I don't want you to be where I was sitting in the bed and I was like, what is going on with my life? That is why I became a coach, because I want to help people like you avoid that. So go to kristiestalker.com. You can go click on there. You can book a free call with me. And I'm on all the socials, right? I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, all the things. So just look up my name and you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. That's usually where I hang out the most. You can
Excellent.
message me there too if you'd like. But those are the 3 main ways to get a hold of me and follow me, because I would love to meet all of you.
Awesome. And I love that you said that about the free session too. That was something that I kind of was thinking I wanted to add, that, if you're on that point where you're like kind of on the fence about, do I want to talk to somebody or do I not want to talk to somebody? I don't even know what I want to ask yet.
What?
Like, have an initial conversation. That doesn't mean you're not signing any contract, but have that initial conversation. Sometimes that initial conversation gets you thinking in new ways. And then if you decide to move forward with somebody, you can. And then if you don't want to, you don't. But there's a lot of people out there that can really help you to solidify all the thoughts that are spinning around in your head.
Yes.
And coaches coach each other, right? Because of that same thing. So it's, we all need it. I thank you for coming. I am super happy and hope that people joined. And if they didn't, I should say, hope that people that joined enjoyed the conversation. Those that didn't get a chance to join us live will be watching after the fact. And any parting words that you want to say to folks before we sign off?
I would highly encourage you to listen to what Deb just said about, do I do this? Do I do that? Again, you only have so many days. Do you really want to keep doing it in a place where you feel that you don't want to be? If you want to be somewhere else, or fulfill a purpose or fulfill a potential that you know is out there, then why not? Right? Like your word of the year is and maybe your words out there are why not, right? Just
Mm.
do the thing. Why not? What is the worst that could happen? Reach out to somebody like Deb, or reach out to somebody like me, read the book, do something, because you have been put on this world for a reason.
Mm.
And maybe you don't know it right now, and that is totally okay. You and a lot of people. But what I would encourage you to do is to make steps toward whatever that is that lights you up, because life is too short to be living a life that does not light you up. So hopefully something that we talked about here today resonated with you or was an aha moment. And, please get in touch with me for anything. I mean, I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, excellent. I love it. Those are fantastic parting words. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Kristie, very much. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the week, because it's Monday and we're going to have an awesome, awesome week this week.
Yes.
All right. Take care, everybody.